This video is not for everyone. It might make you feel some kind of way. So if today you're in a bad mood, you're looking for a fight, or you're not ready to change or transmute the energy, or you're wanting to stay in a state of pain and suffering, that's okay too. Not all of us are ready for change, and I use the term ready loosely, but it's okay to scroll past this video. But for those who are looking to heal or to grow past grief, this video might be for you if you're open to receive it. Now, it's said that we have free will even before we come into this incarnation. We got to decide if we wanted to come into this experience in full awareness of all the outcomes that would happen while we were here. Most of us forget who we are in transition, and we get distracted by life's idiosyncrasies, But did you know that grief can be turned into a ritual? Did you know like our minds can recall certain dates triggering a state of depression so often that it becomes this subconscious thing that we do all the time? It's like we intentionally remember the date of someone's death, and every year around that date, we begin to grieve and mourn that person just as we did on the actual date that we lost them. Especially at times when that person would be here normally, like Mother's Day, Father's Day, or Christmas. We begin to mourn them all over again and again. We continuously put ourselves in a state of grief ritualistically. Now, most often these behaviors have been pre-programmed in us as we've watched our ancestors or our family members grieve in the same manner. Grief is not healthy. I'm not saying it's not healthy to mourn the loss of someone, but there is a time for that. And then it should no longer dominate our lives. We've been taught that it's normal, but anything that takes you out of alignment with yourself for long periods of time, it's not healthy. It can become toxic, it can make you stagnant and prevent you from moving forward. You have to learn how to transmute that energy into something positively greater. Now, unless the person you are grieving was a selfish person, a narcissist, they wouldn't want you to be grieving them for long periods of time. They would want you to go on with your life and be happy and be the best version of yourselves. That's if they really loved you. Now, oftentimes we often grieve the person, not really grieve the person themselves, but it's the promise of hope lost, the better times with them, or another chance with them, a chance to heal old wounds, ask why they did what they did, or rekindle the relationship, a chance to do one more thing, which often really wouldn't make a difference. I know that really sounds harsh, and I really don't mean it to be, but in cases where adult children mourn parents for long periods of time, and this is not in every case, but when parents were not good to you, made you know that you were the black sheep of the family or not as loved as their other children, sometimes the grief is because there is no longer a chance to rectify that or to change that outcome. You're left with all the not so good times, how they treated you, how they treated your children versus their other grandchildren. You mourn the loss of a chance for that to be different. You place yourself in a state of suffering because that's what you did when they were here. You suffered in silence and carried that pain. And now that they are no longer here, what will you do with it? Well, you can let it go. It is no longer needed. It has served its purpose. Now, I know that for some people who have lost their loved ones through some type of tragedy, it's harder to get through. But even in those situations, I'm sure the person you lost would not want you to grieve them and be grieved on every occasion where there should be happiness and joy. It would seem that when we lose children, we believe we should go before they do. But some of us, we come into this life or this world to have a shorter lifespan than others. Now, if we can think about it in that way, it's easier for us to digest and mourn the loss without causing ourselves suffering and pain. I'm not saying that you're not going to miss that person or miss that experience, But in reality, no one can really tell you how to grieve. It is all up to you and the choices you make on how to do so. But if you are wanting not to suffer or be in pain for the remainder of your life experience, to think of your loved ones with loss and not of life, that's your choice. You get to choose. You get to choose how it'll affect you and how you will live out your life. But if you're wondering, how can I get through this pain? Then the first thing to do is whenever you think of that person and begin to feel sad, you must transmute that energy. Turn it from sadness into joy. Think about the times you laughed together, the times they were silly, the special things that they did for you, whatever makes you think of them in a happy way, remembering that they came here and you got to enjoy them while they were here. You got to enjoy them while they were here. Grief is not usually for the person, it's for us. They have moved through this life and on to the next one. They are no longer in pain. They may even be in a different dimension, a different plane, or even back here in another form. While you're here left sad, this is why it's important to transmute that energy, because they may be in a whole other experience and they may be happy at this time. But we program ourselves to grieve for the remainder of our lives. And in the same way, we can reprogram ourselves for joy. Instead of mourning the loss, we can remember the gains. For those who had parents who weren't there for them or didn't treat them well, the choice to grieve for those parents often comes from the desire for a different outcome that never came to be. The pain of not being loved or treated fairly can linger, but holding on to that grief only perpetuates the suffering. It's important to recognize that you have the power to break free from the cycle, to choose to honor yourself and find peace despite the past. In choosing to release the pain, you open the door to healing and growth, creating this space for a more joyful and fulfilling life. Thank you for listening.